Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, High Tea and Happy Hour. My name is Janay and I'm a curator, a designer by trade, a foodie by passion, and I'm here to give you some intimate home gathering tips. So just by being an interior designer, I have a huge passion in setting the vibe in spaces. In the last couple of years, I've expanded my career to being a vibe curator. And what does that mean? So that means basically that I set the vibe in spaces. It's just that simple. Whether that be through design, whether that be through event planning, whether that just is watching a game with my family, I'm going to set the vibe for that evening. Vibe curating is my passion, and I've spent plenty of time, money, and energy planning vibes over the years. But with that, I've gathered a lot of tips and developed a really strong process to save time, money, and energy when I vibe curate. So, I have 5 huge tips for you to throw the perfect home gathering. Number 1, please give yourself time. Giving yourself time is so essential and is a step that most of us skip because we don't really have the time we feel like, or the resources to have the time we feel like. I would urge you to look over your year, right? Especially if you're a curator or one who wants to throw more house parties and things like that. Look over your year. Look over the times that you think that you might want to throw a party and just put in a date. Put in dates. Okay, in May, I know I'm going to want a Mother's Day brunch or throw a Mother's Day brunch. In July, I know I'm going to want at least 2 barbecues. Make sure that you're spacing this out in a calendar for yourself, so that gives you time to plan for these things. It sets your mind in motion, like, okay, May is coming up. What do I need for that event? You start to plan ahead of time, right? Instead of saying, next weekend I actually want to throw a party. Next weekend, this gives you time to plan out details I'm going to provide in later tips, with ease and without stress, and you're able to breathe and order things ahead of time. It also gives you time to alert your guests. You want to give them ample time to say, okay, I'm not doing anything that weekend. Let me block this off for Janay, because please block it off for me. Number 2, have a plan. I cannot stress this enough. I live here. I spend the most time in step 2, planning, researching. All of the things that are essential to throwing a well put together vibe. One thing that I really stand firm on is being detailed. I love being detailed. I love adding in details that people grab. And especially in intimate home settings, people see the details more often than you would in a grand event. People are seeing that you burn special candles for the night. People are seeing your layout, your food presentation. People are looking at the details at a closer range in an intimate home setting. So you have to put more time into planning these things out. So first thing in planning, pick a theme. What is this and what do you want it to feel like? Pick your vibe. Is it Mother's Day? Do you want it to be an uplifting mother's brunch? What do you want it to feel like? So your colors will follow that vibe. Your decor will follow that vibe. I need flowers. I want French toast. I want champagne glasses for mimosas. Once you pick a theme, all of the other things will kind of fall into line more easily. Then you want to break that theme down into details. How many guests are you having? Where are you going to buy decor? I need to start menu planning. All of those things, I need to break into further details so I can understand what's my next step. I can't emphasize this enough. When you're breaking those things into further detail, note take, sketch, have a central source for your event planning thoughts so that you can refer back to them. Really write it all out, flesh it out. I want this to feel like this, but April is coming and April really doesn't like this. Okay, let me plan this. Let me plan accordingly. Planning gives you the opportunity to do that. Something that is key and something that I recently mastered is a budget. Once you set that theme, you know how many guests you're gonna have, how much food you're gonna need, blah, blah, blah. You wanna set that budget, okay? I only wanna spend this amount of money. Or I only want to spend this amount per person. And you start to plan it out, that will start to give you an idea of what stores you need to shop at, what type of menu you should have, what type of decor you need to put up. All of those things can fall in line once you pinpoint that number. Number 3 is give your guests an experience. What I mean by an experience is when you come to a party, you want to feel the vibe. You want to walk into decor that is bomb. Maybe you're getting greeted at the door with a drink. Whatever it is, just make sure your guests are feeling the vibes, okay? So that can be laying out your party and your chairs at your party that provoke conversation. And maybe you want a cluster of people having a conversation here, a cluster of people having a conversation here. You want people to engage with the food a certain way. Have your layout be conducive to the vibe. Or maybe you try a new food. Maybe it's a food that is trending on TikTok, and nobody has had the chance to try it out themselves. So you try it out that night and boom, it's an instant sensation. This can also mean doing a new game or activity that gets your guests' minds moving or bodies moving. Whatever it is, make sure your guests leave like, damn, that was a vibe. Like, I would do that again. Number 4 is prepare your home. And this is one of the steps that is very important to me, because how my home comes across to people really means a lot to me. But also how my home hugs on people is like very important to me. Like, that is almost like number 1 to me. The energy in your space is really dictated by what's in it. So if you have clutter, you have things out of place, you have just like things that are like eyesores in the space, that's going to come off as negative energy. It's not going to come off as comforting energy, hugging energy, loving energy. So you really want to make sure that your space is clear, clean, free of major clutter spots and things like that, to really bounce around some good, positive, high energy throughout the space. Also, we want to control the smells in our space. This could be by putting an oil diffuser by the door, so that's an instant smell that your guests get when they come through the door. Candles throughout the space. Candles also add aesthetics, so they do double duty work. Or you could put a pot on the stove with some water, orange slices, cinnamon sticks, and rosemary that creates like that food comforting smell. It feels like, oh my God, this is fall. This is some comforting smells. Somebody's cooking something good. Somebody knows their way around the kitchen. In addition to the obvious spaces that you want to have spick and span, like your bathroom and your kitchen, because your kitchen says a lot about the cleanliness and the food that you're serving people. So your bathrooms and your kitchen, of course you want to be clean. But also you want to rid the main space of dust, aside from clutter, but dust. You want to vacuum, have the floors be clean, especially if people are removing their shoes. But clean is essential. Air quality is essential. You have people that have asthma. You have people who suffer from different things with the respiratory system, especially because of the effects of COVID or whatever else. We want to make sure that our air quality is clear in our space, we're dusting, we're cleaning. Also, in preparing your home for a party, you definitely want to calculate the amount of seating you need, have more seating if possible, but make sure that everybody can take a comfortable seat in your space. And this is like a pro tip of preparing your home. You want to have at least one bed cleaned off, or the whole room. And I say that because I was raised up by my grandmother and my mom to always have a bed cleaned off, just in case somebody gets sick and needs to lay down for a second. A mom needs to change a baby or breastfeed or whatever it is. Somebody needs to find the comfort of a private space. Having that cleared off and not being used as a coat rack really is essential in having a comfortable space for your guests. Now, I know some people are like, now please, that's a little too far, but it really isn't. Because if you think about if you invite people over with kids or babies, you don't want to have to send them into a space that's crowded and uncomfortable. Like, I want my guests to be comfortable all throughout my space and have an experience all throughout my space. So when I'm cleaning, I'm definitely taking that in mind. Like, when I'm moving things out of my main space, I want to organize them in a way in my private space so that it's still inviting, it's not overcrowded and things like that. That's just something that I think about. Now, a pro tip is to prepare your home so it can take in the new decor and things that you bought for the party seamlessly. Like, at the end of the party, once everything is cleaned up, it can easily go away. And why this is a pro tip is because you have to have some extra time and energy to get this done. And what I mean by that is your cabinetry. Now, if you're buying new dishes and new serveware and things like that, sometimes I will reorganize my cabinets, clean them out, do like a spring cleaning, light cleaning of my cabinets, make sure I have space enough to take in new, items and decor. Same with my closet, like making sure that I'm not just stuffing things at the end of the party or keeping them on my countertop for 2 months. I may be talking to me. My 5th and final tip for today is menu planning. I cannot stress this enough. Unless you're really somebody who does this often, I'm saying often, like once or twice a month, you really got this down. Like, I already know what I want to cook. I already know how I want it to come together. I don't really have to write it down. Boom, you're amazing, you're a genius, and everybody loves you. But if you're not as seasoned as a curator, even if you are a seasoned curator as myself, I still love to write it down, flesh it out, making sure that I'm elevating flavors, I'm giving people new experiences through the menu and such. Now, my first tip underneath this tip is, unless you warn your guests that they're going to be trying a completely new menu, you know, maybe nibble on something before you eat because I'm exposing you to something brand new. Unless you warn them first, I would have your menu be a healthy mix of familiar items and new dishes. And I mean like an 80-20, like 80% familiar, 20% new dishes. That's how I would map it out. Unless you know that you have friends that are completely adventurous, they already warned you, yelled at you, threatened you and said, hey, give me new dishes, I hate the old shit, then yeah, then you could kind of change that percentage over into where you need it to be. But starting out, if you have people around you that, you know, I like my familiar foods, I'm not really adventurous when eating, do that 80-20. 80% should be familiar, 20% you can try something new. A part of giving somebody experience in menu planning is planning a cocktail. You know, it can be a mock cocktail or booze it up. This can be in a way of individual cups. You could do a punch bowl, or you could do a bar where you kind of influence people to make their own cocktails, right? So you can maybe have a board up that shows you the ingredients that they can put in it. They can make their own cocktails. I mean, that's fun. People love a hands-on experience. Now, as far as how much alcohol you should get for your guests, right? There are plenty of calculators online that let you input the number of guests, how long they're going to be there, and like, you know, some other factors sometimes. But it outputs either the amount of cocktails you need or the amount of like bottles of wine, beers, and liquor you need. For an example, if I have 20 guests that are going to be there for 4 hours, I need 37 beers, I need 8 bottles of wine, and I need 2 bottles of liquor. So that's just a roundabout of 20 guests that are drinking for 4 hours. You know, this is a party. Unless you're having like a frat party where it's like, damn, I need to quadruple that. Use the calculator, figure it out, and boom, you'll be set. As far as how much food you should have per guest, now for adults, you should have 1 pound of food per adult, and for kids, you should have a ½ pound of food per kid. Now, I don't always take this exact amount of detail when I'm planning my menu. In my head, I think about what the average person eats. Like for instance, let's just take burgers, for instance. The average person is going to eat 1 burger, if it's a good healthy size. I'm going to make 2 burgers because I want that person to have a little overindulgence if they want to at the party and also be able to take some home. So I'm going to make 2 burgers per person so that they have a little extra. People can wrap it up if they want. Boom, everybody's happy, everybody loves me. Finally, I want you to consider your layout and plating for your food. Are you doing a hot bar? Are you going to do sternos and, you know, foil tins? Are you going to do a seated dinner where you're going to serve the food in family style or plated? Consider all of that up front. That is really integral to your decor. That's really integral to your budget. That's really integral to your peace of mind at the last minute when you're trying to figure out how this food is going to get in people's stomachs in an aesthetically pleasing way. Please consider it because you need to know, where am I going to lay out the food if I'm going to lay it out, you know? Am I going to keep it warm? Am I going to just do plating where people kind of have to eat immediately? That goes into what time the party starts, how people trickle into the party, A, B, and C, right? Because you don't want food to be sitting out for so long and then it's not really to the quality you want it to be anymore. But in setting the vibe, having that level of detail really helps. And your guests notice it and they appreciate it. Wow, you did all this for us. This is beautiful. Do it again. So those are my 5 tips for setting the perfect intimate home gathering vibes. First is give yourself time. Second is have a plan. Third is give your guests an experience. The fourth is prepare your home. And the fifth is menu planning. If you do all of these things, I do not doubt that your guests are going to be talking about this vibe for weeks, months, and maybe years to come. You get subscribed to get some more tips and also to follow the vlogs that follow some of these events so you can see how these things flourish and come to be. Until then, thank you for watching the High Tea and Happy Hour page. See you next time.